A global issue is a problem that concerns many people throughout the world. Global issue requires organization and government throughout the world to come together to find a solution for these issues. These issues can be a wide range of categories. Some of the majority issues include poverty, pandemics, climate change, war, and so many others. Global issues differ from social issues by groups in which concerned by a problem. Global, like we just mentioned, is worldwide, while social issues is a certain community and groups within a smaller area. The demographic results in the differ of issues as well. Global issues, like mentioned, like a pandemic, affect a wide range that needs help of a large population to be resolved, such as when we had COVID-19 pandemic that affected the whole world. It's not like just the United States got this. The whole entire world was affected by this pandemic, and everyone was having to come up with a resolution together, which resulted in the vaccines and no travel bans. The world came together to find these solutions. Unlike social issues, like healthcare that affects a wide range of people, however, it's country-based issues. This issue is resolved in small capacity of people. So healthcare between each country is different. So in Canada they have free healthcare, but in the United States there's not free healthcare. So each country has their own law, and some don't even have healthcare for majority of the population as even an option. One global issue that I find really important is pollution. Pollution is a harmful substance that affects everything around us. Pollution affects every single person throughout the world. Communities, national, and global levels are affected by pollution in one very big, same way. They're affecting the air quality for humans. This air quality results in issues from death to respiratory problems and strokes to so many more health issues. These issues affecting everything throughout the world. However, what's affecting most is children. Children's immune system is not fully developed, and they breathe heavier because they have smaller lungs and they're playing a lot more and a lot more active. This results for children being more affected by pollution, which has become a big issue throughout the world in the health issue for children. You see a lot more children nowadays that are having to have inhalers, and later on in their life they end up having cancer in their lungs from these issues. Pollution is affecting so much more than just the air quality, which we will learn. Professional pollution affects mechanical engineering in big ways. It's not like the ways that we were just mentioned, which are health effects. It affects people differently. However, it is very important to the world and how it is being affected. Many mechanical engineers are the reason for these pollutions. They are creating these pollutions from factories that release toxic gases or making products that release toxic gases. A big thing that is being created that releases toxic gases that everyone uses are cars. It is the engineer's job to be able to reduce and eliminate these populations. However, this is very and extremely hard. Most engineers work their whole career just trying to figure out ways day in and day out to eliminate or to decrease these problems in factories and all over the world. These issues are very, very hard because all the renewable energy is very expensive and is also not as efficient as these other types of energy that is creating these pollutions. Now on some specific ways that pollution is affecting different type of locations. Communities impacted with pollution are areas with more traffic and car usage, which lead to smog. Like mentioned, cars are releasing pollution from their CO2 and different toxic gas levels. These toxic gas go into the environment and they create smog. Smog is like clouds that kind of look like fog, but it's just a bunch of toxic gases that just surround the atmosphere and just stay there. These are horrible for breathing and create many respiratory issues, as well as little communities that rely on making their own crops and food from the land around them. Many of the nations that aren't as wealthy and aren't as big, they use their own land to create their soil, their food, and use that soil, and they also go to local rivers to get this nutrients that they need to live. With all this pollution that's happening, even though they could be a couple thousand miles away from civilization that has these factories that are creating, or civilization that is creating this pollution, it can still end up coming back and affecting their water, which we all know how water pollution can easily go through a stream and travel for miles and miles. as well as the air. The air can travel forever, which then can end up affecting their soil. This soil then can affect the crops that are being grown, which then is not good for humans to eat or drink. However, that's all that these communities have, so they end up ingesting and eating. That's causing many diseases and illness in these people. Now on to some national issues. Some specific national issues are countries that trade goods that are grown or created from animals or land. Population has affected soil that has left areas unable to create goods. Like we just mentioned, a lot of these soil is getting horrible. As you can kind of see in this photo, I know it's kind of commercialized, but this pollution that's coming in, it affects the soil. Soil is very hard to keep rich. Many farmers have issues as it is with no pollution to create good crops and good growth. This pollution is making it even harder for farmers to create good crops. This kind of affects the nation by a lot of these crops are used in trade and goods. Like in the United States, whenever we're in winter, we can't get certain products because we're unable to grow them. But the need of these products are still very high and valuable to these consumers. So with the soil being ruined from pollution, it's putting a hold on a lot of trades and resulting in a lot of costs for nations that are unable to grow these because of the soils being harmed. And also then if you're not able to trade, that's also causing you a lot of money because that's the money your nation was relying on. In the end, that causes for prices of goods to increase drastically, and a lot of people will be unable to afford these goods, which will be affecting their nutrients levels. And the good crops and soils, it'll affect people that rely on that as just their solely food. Lastly, we have the global level as affecting from the population. A big talk right now, which is another global issue, is climate change. Climate change can be resulted back to air pollution. This is because of released toxins and gases into the atmosphere that the Earth consumes in the core. A big one is CO2. The level of CO2 that's being produced is through the roof, and it gets in the atmosphere, and the core absorbs it, and goes in the core and heats up because there's other gases and things going on in the Earth's core. Then at nighttime it will release these gases and turn it into heat, and these temperatures are being increased from the CO2 that's coming in, which is resulting in what they're calling climate change. As climate change is a huge factor along the world. Places that are not used to these temperatures that are increasing, the immune systems, the animals that live there, the vegetation, everything is being affected. But that's a whole other climate change is a whole other type of issue. But we know that air pollution is harming that, which is why they've started to create solutions for this air population, trying to reduce it with catalytic converters that they're putting on cars, and they're trying to come up with recyclable ways to these gases. These toxic gases, the CO2 like I was mentioning, also relates to the ocean life. The CO2 is being released in the atmosphere like I mentioned, and it is going into our ocean life, which is harming our marine life and our coral reef, which is another food source that's being affected, and that's a big nutrient that is needed for the ocean. It feeds a lot of people, it feeds a lot of different countries, which that's another resource that's then being taken away from people and animals, which animals do also eat marine life. That's affecting all of them, and that's another way that people just are losing a resource. And finally, too much CO2 makes the Earth unable to absorb, allowing for the CO2 in the atmosphere to stay, which is harming humans. A lot of the CO2 is absorbed by the Earth, which helps humans eliminate that toxicity of the air pollution and that air level in the atmosphere. But we're creating so much of it that now not even the Earth is able to consume as much as necessary for us to be living, which is a big global level impact. Lastly, I have my works cited. and thank you for listening.